The galaxy was wide and filled with powerful empires. Among them was the Empire of Velorians, a race of proud and disciplined alien beings. They were known for their strict rules, their loyalty to order, and their cold hearts. In this empire, breaking the law meant terrible punishment. For two young alien girls, punishment had already come. Their names were Lyra and Syra, sisters by birth and rebels by heart. They were different from the others in their empire. Where most Velorians lived without questions, these two always asked. Where most obeyed without thought, these two often challenged. One day, their rebellion went too far. They had refused a command from their leaders, a command that would have destroyed a weaker species. Their refusal was called shameful, their compassion seen as weakness, and for that, the Empire decided to punish them in the most humiliating way. They would be exiled, but not to a faraway prison or a lifeless rock. Instead, their exile was to a planet their empire mocked for centuries, Earth. The court had laughed when the sentence was given. Send them to the world of humans, the judge declared. Let them live among the fragile creatures. Let them taste weakness every day. To the Empire, Earth was a place of dust, chaos, and foolish emotions. For Lyra and Syra, it was meant to be a cage. But neither girl spoke as they were placed on the ship and cast into space. Their hearts burned with shame, but also with secret fire. The ship broke through Earth's atmosphere one dark night. The sisters landed in silence, the metal craft sinking into the forest ground. The air smelled strange, heavy with life and sound. The girls stepped out, their eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. To them, this world was small, green, and loud. They looked around with cold expressions. This is the place they want us to rot. Lyra whispered. Syra clenched her fists. We will not rot, we will survive. They wore human disguises, their alien forms hidden behind crafted skin. To human eyes, they looked like two strange but beautiful girls. Yet inside, their hearts boiled with anger. They hated the empire that betrayed them. They hated this planet they were forced to live on, and most of all, they hated the weakness they thought they saw in humans. That night, they walked through the forest until they reached a quiet road. The sound of strange machines filled the air, cars rushing by. The sisters froze, watching the lights with suspicion. This world is noisy, Syra muttered. Lyra's eyes narrowed, and dangerous. They followed the road until they reached the edge of a small town. Houses stood close together, glowing with warm yellow lights. Voices echoed through the night, laughter, music, and human chatter. The sisters stayed in the shadows watching. For the first time, they saw humans not as numbers and empire records, but as living beings, smiling, eating, holding each other's hands. It made their stomachs twist with something they did not understand. Suddenly, a sharp cry cut through the street. A young human boy was being chased by older boys. He fell, and the group surrounded him, shouting cruel words. The alien sisters stared, their instincts sharp, humans attacking their own. To them, this was proof of weakness, proof of chaos. But then, something unexpected happened. Even as the bullies laughed and struck him, the small boy stood up again. His face was bruised, his lip bleeding. Yet he shouted back with courage, I'm not afraid of you. He yelled. The sisters blinked in surprise. Why would a weak creature stand when he knew he could not win? The bullies finally left, but the boy still stood tall. His eyes burned with spirit, his voice steady even in pain. In that moment, something changed in Lyra and Syra. The punishment they thought would only bring misery had shown them something new. Humans might be weaker in body, but in spirit, there was something unbreakable, something the Empire had never prepared them for. The sisters stepped back into the shadows. Their punishment had only just begun, but deep inside, they felt the start of a story far greater than they expected. For on this strange world called Earth, destiny was waiting, and love, a word they did not yet understand, was already moving toward them. Asterisk. The morning sun rose over the small town, painting the sky in soft orange light. Lyra and Syra stood at the edge of the forest, watching the humans begin their day. Children rushed to school with bags on their shoulders. Adults hurried to work with cups of hot drinks in their hands. The sisters kept their disguises firm, their alien features hidden behind crafted human skin. To the world, they looked like two ordinary young women, but inside, they carried the weight of exile. They walked down the street for the first time, their steps careful and slow. Every sound felt strange. Every smell felt new. Humans greeted each other with smiles. Even strangers waved at one another. This confused the sisters, for in their empire, there was no such thing as casual kindness. On Valoria, words were sharp and faces were cold. Here, even the weakest human seemed warm. As they passed by a bakery, the smell of bread drifted through the air. Sira stopped, her stomach growling. She had never smelled anything like it before. Rich and warm. Lyra frowned. We cannot waste time with these things. But Sira pressed her hand against the glass. Her eyes locked on the golden loaves inside. Finally, they entered the shop, unsure of what to say. The human woman behind the counter smiled. Good morning, dears. What would you like? The sisters froze, their minds racing. They had learned human words from the Empire's data, but using them felt different. After a moment, Sira pointed and whispered, "One." Bread, the woman laughed kindly, one loaf coming right up. When the bread was placed in her hands, Sira held it like treasure. She tore a piece and tasted it, her eyes widening in shock. It was soft, warm, and full of flavor. She turned to Lyra. Try it. Lyra shook her head, but her curiosity betrayed her. When she finally tasted, her face softened. It is not unpleasant. They left the bakery, and for the first time since landing, both sisters felt a small spark of comfort. As they walked further into town, they reached a schoolyard. Children laughed and ran, chasing one another in games. The sisters watched in silence. In their empire, children were trained as soldiers from a young age. Laughter was not part of their lessons. Here, it was everywhere. Sira tilted her head. How do they survive like this? So careless, so unguarded. But deep in her chest, she felt something heavy, something like envy. Later that day, the sisters wandered into a small park. They sat on a bench, watching humans pass by. That was when it happened again. The same boy they saw the night before appeared, the one who had stood against bullies. His lip was still bruised, but he walked with quiet pride. Two of the bullies returned, pushing him hard against a tree. Didn't learn your lesson, huh? One of them growled. The sisters stood quickly, their instincts sharp. Sira clenched her fists. We should not interfere, but Lyra shook her head. No, I want to see. The boy fought back again, even though he was smaller and weaker. He took punches, but each time he rose, something in his eyes shone. Not fear, not surrender. The sisters were stunned. In their world, weakness was punished with silence. Here, weakness was met with courage. Finally, Lyra could not stand it. She stepped forward, her voice cold and commanding. Leave him alone. The bullies turned, surprised by the strange new girl. Something about her gaze froze them. They muttered curses and ran away. The boy leaned against the tree, breathing hard. He looked at Lyra and Sira with confusion. Why did you help me? For a moment, neither sister answered. Then Lyra spoke. Because you stood when you could have fallen. The boy blinked, not fully understanding, but he smiled. My name's Daniel, he said, extending his hand. The sisters glanced at each other, unsure of the custom. Finally, Sira shook his hand, her skin tingling at the strange warmth of human touch. From that day, Daniel began to notice them often, sometimes in the park, sometimes near the school. He was curious about the mysterious sisters who seemed out of place. They spoke little, but their eyes watched everything. To him, they seemed like shadows that didn't belong to the town. Yet something about them pulled him closer. For Lyra and Sira, every encounter with Daniel planted new questions. Why would a human defend others when he was weak? Why would he smile even through pain? Why did his presence make their hearts feel heavy, yet light at the same time? They did not know the word for it, but they were already changing. That night, as the sisters returned to the forest, Sira whispered, "This world is strange, Lyra. These humans, they are not what we were told." Lyra looked at the stars, her voice low. "No, they are not, and I fear that is dangerous." Days turned into weeks, and the alien sisters slowly blended into the rhythm of human life. They had taken small steps into the town, sometimes entering shops, sometimes sitting quietly in the park. But the one thing they could not ignore was Daniel, the boy they had seen stand against the bullies. He had become a puzzle they could not solve, a riddle that pulled at their thoughts. Sira was the first to follow him in secret. One afternoon, when Daniel left the school, she trailed him. Quietly through the streets, he carried books in his arms. His head held high, even though his bruises had not yet fully healed. Sira studied his every move, how he greeted neighbors, how he stopped to help an old woman carry groceries. In her world, such actions would be seen as pointless, a waste of strength. Yet here, it looked noble. She whispered to herself, "Why would someone weak spend their energy on others?" At the same time, Lyra's curiosity grew in her own way. She did not follow Daniel, but she listened to the humans around her. She watched families laugh together, friends sharing secrets, couples walking hand in hand. She had never seen such things in her empire, where emotions were chains and affection was forbidden. But here, these strange connections seemed to make humans stronger, not weaker. The thought disturbed her, but she could not ignore it. One evening, the sisters sat by a quiet river outside the town. The moonlight reflected on the water, and the forest whispered with wind. Sira broke the silence. "These humans are not what I expected." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "They are still fragile, still unfit for the stars. But," Sira said softly, "maybe strength is not only in the body." Lyra turned away, refusing to answer. But her silence was heavy with thought. The next day, their questions grew even stronger. Daniel approached them in the park, carrying a bag of books. He smiled awkwardly. "I see you two here a lot. Are you new in town?" The sisters exchanged a quick glance, unsure of how much to say. "Yes," Lyra replied shortly, her tone guarded. Daniel nodded. "Well, welcome then. This town is small, but it's home." He sat nearby, flipping through one of his books. Sira leaned closer, curious. "What are you reading?" "History," Daniel said. "Stories of people who stood up even when they were outnumbered, who fought for freedom." The sisters froze, their hearts tightening. These were not the words of a weak creature. These were words of courage. For the next few days, Daniel often found reasons to talk to them. Sometimes he told them about school, sometimes about his dreams. He wanted to become someone who could protect others. Even if he wasn't the strongest, the sisters listened in silence. But inside, something stirred. They remembered the moment they had refused their empire's command. They remembered the punishment that followed, and now, here was a human boy, speaking words that mirrored their own hearts. But then, a shadow fell over their new life. One night, as the sisters slept in the forest, a faint hum filled the air. A small drone hovered above them, its red eye glowing. The Empire was watching. The message came through a hidden device they carried. A voice cold and sharp echoed, "Do not forget your place. Your exile is punishment, not freedom. You are forbidden to form bonds with the humans. If you stray, your punishment will worsen." Lyra's hands shook with rage as she crushed the device, but Sira's heart ached, because she knew it was already too late. The bonds had already begun. The next morning, Daniel found them again. He offered them food, smiling. "You always seem quiet, but I like talking to you." The sisters hesitated, but they accepted as they ate. Sira studied his face, his smile, the warmth in his voice. Her chest felt strange, heavy and light at the same time. It frightened her, but she did not want it to stop. Later, as the sun set, Lyra stood on a hill overlooking the town. Her voice was low as she whispered to herself, "We were sent here to suffer, but instead, We are learning. She looked down at the humans walking below, laughing, loving. For the first time, she admitted in her heart that maybe exile was not only punishment, maybe it was the beginning of something greater. But in the shadows of the forest, the Empire's drone still waited, recording, watching, preparing to strike if the sisters strayed too far. The story of their punishment was changing, and curiosity was leading them down a path that could never be undone. The days of exile stretched longer, and the alien sisters began to feel something they had never felt before. At first, they believed their time on Earth would be nothing but shame and waiting. But slowly, piece by piece, the humans began to touch their hearts. What was once only curiosity now grew into something warmer, something they could not easily name. Sira was the first to notice the change within herself. Every time Daniel spoke, every time he smiled, her chest tightened. She tried to ignore it, tried to remind herself that he was only human, weak and fragile. But when he laughed, when his eyes shone with kindness, she felt a strange strength inside her own heart. It was as if his weakness was no weakness at all, but a hidden kind of power. And that power was beginning to pull her closer. Lyra, on the other hand, fought the feeling with all her strength. She kept reminding herself of the Empire's laws, the voice of the judge who had exiled them. Emotions are chains, love is. Weakness bonds are death. But the more she resisted, the more she saw the truth around her. She saw mothers holding children, friends protecting one another, lovers walking side by side. And she could not deny that there was something strong in it, something their empire had never allowed them to see. One evening, Daniel found Sira sitting alone by the river. She was staring at the water, lost in thought. He sat beside her, setting down a small box. "I brought this for you," he said, his voice shy. Sira blinked. "What is it?" He opened the box, revealing a simple necklace, a small stone hanging at its center. "It's nothing expensive," he said, "but I thought it might make you smile." For a moment, Sira was speechless, her eyes fixed on the gift. No one in her life had ever given her something just to make her smile. Her people gave orders, punishments, commands, but never kindness. She touched the stone with trembling fingers. "Why would you give this to me?" Daniel shrugged. "Because I wanted to, that's all." Her chest ached and she whispered, "Humans are strange." But deep inside, she felt something far more dangerous, affection. Meanwhile, Lyra had her own secret bond forming. She had not fallen in love like Sira, but she had begun to connect with other humans in the town. An old woman at the bakery often spoke to her, offering free bread with a smile. A group of children laughed whenever she passed, calling her their mysterious friend. Each small interaction melted the wall she had built inside. At night, she admitted to herself, "They are fragile, yes, but they have something we never had. They have hearts." But the Empire was not blind. The drones hidden in the forest had recorded every meeting, every smile, every word. One night, another message arrived through the broken device, repaired by its own dark energy. The cold voice of the Empire echoed again. "You are forgetting your punishment. You are straying. If you form bonds with humans, your exile will become death." The sisters froze, their hands trembling. Sira looked away, her heart pounding. What if they are right? What if this love destroys us? Lyra's voice was hard, but there was fear in her eyes. "Then we will destroy ourselves, because I will not give it up." The next day, Daniel noticed something different in Sira's eyes. She seemed distant, torn between fear and longing. Finally, she spoke softly. "Daniel, if you knew I was not who I seem, if you knew I came from far away, would you still trust me?" Daniel tilted his head, confused but honest. "I don't care where you're from. I care about who you are, and right now, you're someone who matters to me." Sira's throat tightened, tears burning her eyes. Her people would have called this weakness, but in that moment, it felt like strength. At night, the sisters argued by the river. "We cannot stay close to them. Lyra said, her voice sharp. The Empire will not forgive it. Syra clenched her fists. But they make us feel alive. Do you not see it, Lyra, for the first time? We are more than weapons. We are more than tools. We are simply living. Lyra turned away, her heart pounding, because deep inside she knew Syra was right. The punishment of exile was turning into something else. It was turning into freedom. Still, danger pressed closer, in the sky above, hidden among the stars. The Empire's ship prepared for descent. Its commanders whispered, "The girls are forgetting their chains, we must remind them." But on Earth, by the quiet river and in the warmth of human hearts, two alien sisters were discovering bonds that no punishment could break. And though they did not yet speak the word aloud, both of them knew this bond was love. The peace that Lyra and Syra found on Earth was fragile. Each day felt warmer, each bond grew stronger, yet a shadow always followed them. The Empire had not forgotten its exiles, and punishment was never meant to be gentle. It was meant to break their spirit, to remind them that no love, no bond, no freedom could survive against the will of their rulers. It happened on a cold evening when the sky was heavy with clouds. Lyra felt it first, a pulse in the air, a vibration too sharp for humans to notice. Her eyes narrowed. "They are here," she whispered. Syra froze, her hand trembling at her side. "The Empire?" Lyra nodded. "They are watching us closely now." That night, in the heart of the forest, a silver light cut through the trees. A small shuttle landed quietly, its sleek body humming with alien power. From its core stepped two armored figures, their faces hidden by dark masks. They were not here to fight, not yet. They were here to test, to see if the sisters still carried loyalty to their empire, or if their hearts had been lost to Earth. The sisters approached with caution, their disguises falling away in the presence of their kind. One of the masked figures spoke in a voice sharp as ice. "Exiles of Veloria, your punishment has conditions. Do not forget, you were sent here to suffer, not to blend, not to bond." Syra's throat tightened, but she forced herself to speak. "We have survived, we have obeyed." The figure stepped closer. "Obeyed? Then prove it. There is a test." The ground shifted, and the shuttle projected an image in the air. To the sisters' horror, the image showed Daniel, walking home through the town at night, unaware of anything watching him. The masked figure's voice cut like a knife. "This human has become close to you. Too close. Strike him down, prove your loyalty, and you may yet earn forgiveness from the Empire." Syra gasped, stepping back. "No." Lyra's fists clenched, her jaw tight. "You ask us to kill him?" The figure tilted its head. "He is nothing, a weak creature, a parasite on this galaxy. His life means nothing, but your loyalty means everything." The sisters stood frozen, their hearts battling between fear and truth. For years they had obeyed the Empire without question. But here, on this small world, bonds had formed that were stronger than commands. Syra whispered, "He trusted us. He gave me kindness." Lyra's eyes burned with fire. "And we will not betray him." The masked figures exchanged glances. "Then you are traitors," one hissed. "And traitors are hunted." Before the sisters could move, the figures vanished into the shuttle, the silver craft lifting silently into the sky. But the warning was clear. The Empire would not stop. They would return, and the sisters would be forced to choose. The next day, Daniel noticed something strange. The sisters seemed distant, their eyes always searching the skies, their voices heavy with unspoken fear. Finally, he asked, "What's wrong? You both look like you're carrying the whole world on your shoulders." For a long moment, they said nothing. But then Syra spoke, her voice trembling. "Daniel, we are not who you think. We are not from here." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" Lyra took a deep breath, and her disguise melted away for just a second, revealing glowing alien eyes, silver skin, and markings like starlight across her face. Daniel staggered back, his heart pounding. But then he saw the fear in their eyes. Not malice, not harm, only fear. Slowly, he stepped closer. "You're aliens," they nodded silently, bracing for rejection. But instead, Daniel whispered, "And yet, you saved me. You spoke to me. You cared. So what does it matter where you come from?" Syra's eyes filled with tears she had never allowed before. Her heart was breaking and healing all at once, in that moment. She knew Daniel had given her something her empire never had, trust, and it was worth more than her own life. That night, the sisters sat together beneath the stars. Syra whispered, "We cannot obey them anymore, even if it means death." Lyra looked at her, torn between duty and love, between fear and freedom. Finally she nodded. "Then we choose Earth. We choose the bonds we found here, even if the Empire burns us for it." Far above, hidden in the dark sky, the Empire's warship listened. Their decision had been made, and now, the punishment would grow sharper. The test of loyalty was over, and the sisters had failed in the eyes of their people. But on Earth, in the heart of two alien girls, a new truth burned bright. Love was stronger than fear, and no empire could command their hearts. The sisters had made their decision, but the empire was not done with them. Lyra and Syra knew that every passing day brought danger closer. Daniel tried to pretend life was normal, but even he felt the weight of something heavy pressing on their shoulders. The sisters no longer feared being alone. They feared what the Empire would do to those around them. One night, while the town slept, the sky tore open with light. A warship, vast and silent, hovered far above the Earth's clouds, hidden from human eyes. From its cold bridge came a voice, deep and merciless. "The exiles are straying. Their hearts are weak. Bring them back or erase them." The order was final. On Earth, the sisters felt it, a pull in their veins, the Empire's signal. Their bodies trembled as a transmission appeared in the air before them. It was the face of a high commander, stern and cruel. "You will return at once," he commanded. "You belong to US, you belong to Veloria." Lyra stood tall. "And if we refuse?" The commander's eyes burned. "Then your families will suffer, your mother, your bloodline. Every name tied to you will be punished." The words struck like knives. Syra gasped, her heart twisting. "No, they cannot." But Lyra clenched, her fists, anger and fear clashing in her chest. This was the cruel way of their people, control through love. Using family as chains for the first time, Syra doubted everything, her heart screaming for Daniel, but her soul aching for her family far away. "We cannot let them suffer because of us," she whispered, tears in her eyes. Lyra closed her eyes, pain spreading through her chest. "And yet, if we leave, we lose what we have found here." The next day, Daniel noticed their silence. He sat with them under the old oak tree in the park, his eyes filled with worry. "You two are hiding something again," he said softly. "Please tell me." For a long time, neither sister spoke, but at last Lyra whispered, "They want us to return. If we do not, our families will suffer." Daniel's face paled, his hands tightening around the grass. "So they would hurt innocent people just to control you?" "Yes," Lyra said bitterly. "That is the way of our empire." Daniel's voice shook, but it carried fire. "Then don't give them your hearts. Don't let them win. You are more than their tools. More than their chains." Syra looked at him, her tears falling freely. "But if we stay, they will destroy us. If we go, they destroy what we love here." Daniel reached for her hand, his grip strong despite his weakness. "Love makes you stronger, not weaker. If you give it up, then they already win." That night, the sisters argued by the riverbank, the moonlight shining on their faces. Syra's voice broke as she said, "I cannot let our mother suffer. I cannot let them hurt her because of me." Lyra's voice was sharp. "And I cannot give up this world. I cannot walk away from the truth we found here." Their bond as sisters was tested harder than ever, but as the night grew colder, their words fell to silence, and only the sound of the river remained. The next morning, the Empire's shuttle landed again, silent and merciless. The same masked figures stepped out, their weapons gleaming. "Choose," one commanded. "Come now, and your family will live. Stay here and watch everything you love burn." The sisters stood side by side, their hearts pounding. Daniel, hidden nearby, stepped forward before they could answer. "Leave them alone," he shouted, his voice breaking the silence. The masked figures turned, their laughter cruel. "A human dares speak against us?" They moved toward him, weapons ready, but Sira stepped in front of Daniel, her arms spread wide. "Do not touch him," she cried, her voice shaking the forest. Lyra joined her, her eyes blazing. "If you want to punish us, then punish us. But no more humans will suffer for your pride." The figures hesitated, surprised by the fire in their voices. Never before had exiles spoken back with such defiance. "Very well," one hissed. "If you refuse, then you will be destroyed." The shuttle rose back into the air, vanishing into the sky, but the warning was clear. The Empire was preparing for something far greater, something deadly. That night, as the stars glittered above, the sisters sat in silence beside Daniel. For the first time, they admitted the truth aloud. Sira whispered, "I love him, Lyra. I cannot deny it anymore." Daniel looked at her, his heart pounding, but he said nothing. Lyra closed her eyes, her voice low. "And I love this world, its people, its warmth. I cannot return to chains." The choice was clear. Though it tore their souls apart, they would defy the Empire. They would risk death. They would stand with Earth. As the warship moved closer above, the sisters held their bond tighter. For the first time, they were not afraid of punishment. For the first time, they were free to choose. And their choice was Earth. Their choice was love. Their choice was humanity. The night sky above Earth shimmered with hidden danger. The Valorian warship drifted silently beyond the clouds, a predator waiting to strike. Lyra and Sira could feel its presence like a storm pressing on their chests. They knew the Empire would not stop, not until their loyalty was broken or their lives were taken. In the town below, life carried on as if nothing had changed. Humans laughed, children played, the streets glowed with warm lights. But for the sisters, every moment felt like borrowed time. They sat together with Daniel near the river, their faces pale with the weight of choice. Sira whispered, "We cannot run forever. They will come for us, and for you." Daniel shook his head, his eyes steady. "Then let them come. You are not alone anymore." The next evening, the sky split open with fire. The Empire's warship descended lower, its shadow blotting out the stars. Humans gasped as strange lights filled the heavens, thinking it was only a storm or falling stars. But the sisters knew better. "This is it," Lyra whispered. "The Empire has come for us." A shuttle landed in the forest, larger than before, its engines shaking the ground. Dozens of armored soldiers emerged, their weapons glowing with deadly power. At their front walked the High Commander himself, tall, silver-skinned, his eyes burning with cold fury. "Exiles of Valoria," his voice thundered, "your punishment is complete. Your defiance is unforgivable. You will return with us, or you will die here." The sisters stood side by side, their disguises falling away, their true forms revealed in the moonlight. They no longer wished to hide who they were. Lyra's voice rang clear, "We will not return." Sira's eyes burned with fire. "We will not betray the love we have found." The commander sneered. "Love, such a pathetic word. It has made you weak." But Lyra shook her head. "No. It has made us strong." The soldiers moved forward, weapons raised, but before they could strike, Daniel stepped in front of the sisters. His body was trembling, but his voice was steady. "If you want them, you'll have to go through me." The commander laughed, a deep, cruel sound. "A human dares to stand against us? You are nothing." Daniel's fists tightened, his eyes fierce. "Maybe I am nothing to you, but to them, I am something, and I will not step aside." For a moment, silence filled the forest. Then, something unexpected happened. The humans from the town began to gather, drawn by the lights and the noise. One by one, they stood behind Daniel, their faces filled with fear but also courage. Mothers holding children, fathers holding tools, young men and women standing shoulder to shoulder. The commander's eyes narrowed. "Fools, do you think numbers will save you?" But Lyra and Sira felt something rising in their hearts. This was not the weakness their empire had always spoken of. This was strength, a strength born not from power, but from unity. They stepped forward, their voices ringing together. "You call us traitors for loving, you call us weak for caring, but here, we are stronger than we ever were with you," the commander roared, raising his weapon. But in that moment, the sisters unleashed their power. For years, they had suppressed it, obeying the empire's rules. But now, their hearts burned with freedom. Energy crackled around them, silver light exploding into the night. The soldiers staggered back as the ground trembled, the river surged, and the air itself seemed to scream with power. The commander shielded his face, his voice breaking. "What have you done?" Lyra's eyes glowed like fire. "We chose our hearts." Syra's voice thundered with her sisters. "And our hearts chose Earth." The blast of energy pushed the soldiers back, their weapons shattered like glass. The commander fell to his knees, his voice filled with disbelief. "No exile has ever defied us. No exile has ever grown stronger." Lyra stepped closer, her voice sharp as a blade. "Because no exile was ever given what we were given. The humans showed us what true strength is, and it is not yours." The commander's eyes filled with fear, and he gave the order to retreat. The soldiers dragged him back to the shuttle, the warship rising once more into the night sky. The empire had not been defeated, but they had been warned. The sisters were no longer theirs. They belonged to a different world now. When the lights faded and silence returned, the humans cheered. Daniel fell to his knees, exhausted but alive. Sira rushed to him, pulling him into her arms, tears falling freely. "You stood for us," she whispered, "even when you could have died." Daniel smiled weakly. "That's what love is, isn't it? Standing even when you're afraid." Lyra looked at the crowd of humans, their faces glowing in the firelight, and for the first time in her life, she smiled without fear. She turned to Sira, her voice soft. "Perhaps punishment brought us here, but love made this place our home." Sira nodded, holding Daniel close. "Then this is where we belong." The sisters stood together with the humans, the night sky above them filled with stars. The empire would return one day, but it no longer mattered, because they had chosen their path, they had chosen their world, and above all, they had chosen their hearts. Love had defied the stars, and nothing could take it away.